Obesity is simply a condition where there's too much fat in the body. This excess body fat can have health consequences. It's often difficult to determine if you have a healthy weight, if you're overweight, or if you're obese. That's why we encourage you to measure your body mass index or BMI.
Whether a person needs to lose weight is determined by the body mass index or BMI. It's calculated by dividing the weight of the subject by the square of the height. A BMI of between 18.5 and 25 is considered normal. Between 25 and 30, the person is classed as overweight. Above 30, the subject is considered obese. It was once the preserve of rich Western nations, but obesity is now a global epidemic, affecting many people in emerging economies, even developing nations.
Worldwide obesity has more than doubled since 1980. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, in 2008, 1.6 billion adults aged 20 and older were overweight. Of these, over 200 million men and nearly 300 million women were obese. Nearly 43 million children under the age of 5 were overweight in 2010.
It results from a combination of sedentary lifestyle and consumption of fatty foods.
We all have chemical marks in our DNA that can switch genes on and off without changing the DNA sequence. Epigenetics is an emerging area of science that is uncovering the links between these chemical switches, our genes, and the environment they function in. This research is providing exciting insights into the causes of obesity. A number of environmental triggers such as diet, stress, and exposure to drugs and toxins lead to epigenetic changes. Recent studies have shown that a woman's diet during pregnancy can change how her child's DNA functions and may increase their risk of obesity later in life. Scientists and doctors hope that a better understanding of how our body regulates our energy balance and eating patterns will lead to improved treatment approaches and drug therapies in the future.
Obesity-related diseases are a nearly $150 billion medical burden every year. The results?
Houston, we have a problem.
Reveal an alarming reality here.
3 out of every 4 children are either overweight or obese.
That means about 70 of these children are on a high-risk trajectory for coronary artery disease by their 30s and 40s.
I just feel guilty that I couldn't change it earlier.
Americans spend a lot of money trying to lose weight and a lot of time talking about it.
We're spending $150 billion a year treating obesity-related illnesses, so we know this is a problem and there's a lot at stake.
But not even her exhortations seem to be getting through, because this new study published today in the Journal of Adolescent Youth looked at more than 6,000 middle school children across the nation and found that nearly 7% are not obese, but severely obese, in the 99th percentile for weight, which means the problem is worse than believed. The second study by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and Trust for America's Health, both public health advocacy groups, not only found obesity rates up in 28 states, but also that more than a quarter of the population is obese in 2/3 of the states. But why, if we know this is going on, do we keep putting on weight?
Think 10 or 20 pounds of extra weight isn't much. We went to a park and we handed people 10 and 20 pound sandbags.
I truly feel winded. I can feel it in my back. I didn't realize what extra weight on the body feels like.
Oh, I definitely felt it in my knees.
You can easily put 2, 3, 4, 5 pounds on in a year.
10 pounds makes a big difference.
No one carrying the extra weight, but people do it all the time. Wouldn't you like to drop that weight and stop picking up more?
The battle started with money.
So we kind of had to start buying cheaper foods and
that's when you started gaining weight?
Yeah.
Is it a luxury to be able to eat healthy food?
It's becoming more of a luxury.
Kelly Brownell studies obesity at Yale University and says the government does not help by subsidizing corn, an ingredient in virtually every sweetener. Corn farmers were paid $56 billion over the last 10 years by the federal government to grow their crop. Produce farmers, not a dime.
If you go to McDonald's today, you can buy a quarter pounder with cheese meal. That means the large drink and the large French fries for less than it costs to buy a salad and a bottle of water. There's something wrong with that picture.
Today we consume more than 500 extra calories a day than a quarter century ago. They're trying to innovate. Connie Gonzalez and her mother Maria volunteer with the program Healthy Kids, Healthy Communities. The group pushed for a ban on new drive-through windows. Since 2006, not a single fast food restaurant has opened. Fresh produce is now stocked in stores that never carried it.
Maybe the big one?
And Maria flags the healthy food for shoppers. Connie helped convince the school board to make salad bars a staple. And 100 minutes of weekly phys ed is now mandatory. With all this, in 5 years, 135 kids here are no longer overweight.
Which brings us finally to all the reports we've done on what we should be doing about this. We went to a school in Wyoming where they not only started limiting portion sizes and pushing fruits and vegetables, they also began to put the kids' body mass index on their report cards. We visited Albert Lea, Minnesota, that was trying out several ideas proposed by Dan Buettner, who has studied how healthier communities around the world do it. The local restaurant changed its menu. The kids started going to school this way, the walking school bus, they call it, instead of the real one.
The consumer is bombarded by the food industry, which spent $30 billion on advertising last year. And even the world's largest nutrition group, the American Dietetic Association, has a list of sponsors that includes the very companies selling unhealthy products.
So right after you eat these meals, you have energy. But the energy lasts a very short period of time. And you're hungry much sooner. And then you have to eat again. And then you have to eat again. And then you have to eat again.
Theories about what's in it, what's in the food we eat. There is the single ingredient theory, that it's fructose.
Fructose is the cause of the current epidemic.
Robert Lustig at the University of California in San Francisco argues that the introduction in the 1970s of a low-cost sweetener called high fructose corn syrup lowered the cost of fructose in general so that now it's showing up everywhere, as he demonstrated for me, in quantities you don't really expect.
Everyone seems to think yogurt is good for you and yogurt is healthy, but this has 27 grams of sugar for this yogurt. So, is it worth it?
This has 27 grams of sugar, too, per serving.
It's everywhere. It's ubiquitous.
The worst part being he thinks that fructose messes with our brains, making us ever more hungry.
So your brain thinks you're hungry, because if your brain can't get the leptin signal, that's starvation.
Feels like starvation.
Feels like starvation.
Three buttons that are consistently pushed by the food scientists are sweet, fat, and salt. Our bodies are not well adapted to the food environment we're in. There's a disconnect now between what we evolved to like and what's now available to us.
Wait, whole grain. 2 liters a day.
So 2 liters a day of Mountain Dew is how many calories? Do you know?
No idea. I never had to think about it.
And the family?
Internet's cool, but the subliminal advertising sometimes doesn't really isn't as effective as TV is. Now TV is the one that reigns supreme. It's because 47% of all media consumption is actually from TV. And this is actually, food advertisers actually taking advantage of this, and that's why 50% of all advertising on children's shows is food advertising. So the real question is advertising really playing an effect on obesity? In short, yes it is.
So what we know about the connection between TV use and obesity is that there's definitely a pretty strong association. So we know that there's a connection between how much TV a child watches and whether or not that child is overweight. Most of advertisers' budget probably still go to TV. It is the dominant form of advertising targeted to children, and children do tend to spend most of their media time with television.
When the popular children's show, Teletubbies, was accused of promoting obesity, the company began to take measures to fight off this criticism. Finally, in 2004, the BBC banned the show from endorsing harmful foods altogether. The creator of Teletubbies also created another TV series known as Booba, in the attempts to inspire children to get more active. As far as commercials go, many major food corporations are making changes in attempts to accommodate childhood obesity woes. 10 major food companies modified their advertising policies so they are obligated to promote healthier diets and lifestyles when advertising, including McDonald's and the Lighter Choices menu. Along with this, Kraft Foods Inc. has also made a pledge to stop running television ads directed at children under 12 for their less nutritious foods.
Why does it take a whole community
Because one individual can't really change much, but if a city comes together, we can change our whole life.